This is ATN Global News. First, the headlines. Suspected IED explosion hits Bayelsa Secretariat complex. Air Chief warns against plot to subvert democracy. Tinubu nominates Ambassador Yusuf as NACHON chairman. Nigeria's capital importation hits $21 billion in 2025. U.S. lawmakers introduce bill on religious freedom in Nigeria. Tottenham sacked Thomas Frank after Newcastle defeat. Kunle Afolayan urges patience over Aniko Lapo criticism. Suspected improvised explosive device detonated early Wednesday at the Bayelsa State Secretariat complex in Yenagoa, prompting an emergency response from security agencies and a temporary disruption of official activities. The explosion occurred at about 6 a.m., leading to the swift intervention of the Bayelsa State Police Command, confirming the incident. Commissioner of Police CP Iyama said the explosive ordnance disposal unit, special drone unit and other tactical teams were deployed to the scene. According to him, operatives contained the situation and discovered one unexploded device which was safely defused. He stated that no casualties were recorded and no property was damaged. Police also arrested a 60-year-old man identified as Pentecost Elijah from Otuan community in southern Ijo local government area in connection with the incident. He is currently being interrogated at the State Criminal Investigation Department and will be charged to court upon conclusion of investigations. Authorities said normalcy has been restored and urged residents to remain calm and continue their lawful activities. Operatives of the Imo State Police Command have arrested two brothers, Lucky and Uzoma Amadi, for allegedly killing their elder brother, Orindu, and burying his body in a shallow grave in Mbaitoli local government area. The suspects were said to have concealed the alleged crime by repeatedly informing members of the community that their elder brother had traveled. Suspicion reportedly grew after the brothers gave conflicting accounts of Orindu's whereabouts, while efforts to reach him by phone proved unsuccessful. This development led youths in the area to storm the Amadi family compound on Tuesday morning, demanding clarification. An eyewitness, Chidi Bube Okioma, told journalists that the brothers allegedly confessed to the killing amid rising tension in the community. According to him, the suspects claimed that Orindu had been responsible for the death of their father about 10 years ago under circumstances they described as questionable. Following the alleged confession, the suspects reportedly led the youths to a shallow grave within their compound where Orindu's remains were exhumed. The situation escalated with some youths threatening to carry out jungle justice on the suspect. Police officers from the Mbieri Police Division intervened and took the brothers into custody after receiving a report from a concerned resident. The suspects are currently in police custody while investigations into the incident are ongoing. Labour Party in Ebonyi State has vowed to resist any alleged attempt by the Ebonyi State Independent Electoral Commission to manipulate the forthcoming local government elections in favor of the ruling All Progressives Congress. The party made the declaration during a press conference at its state secretariat in Abakaliki ahead of the council polls scheduled for August. While confirming its readiness to participate fully in the elections, the party dismissed claims by EBSIEC that its state executive council was not recognized by the Independent National Electoral Commission. Speaking at the briefing, the state chairman, Chief Henry Ude, acknowledged challenges in the process outlined by EBSIEC, but maintained that the party had met all requirements for participation. He disclosed that the party would submit its candidate list to the commission and expressed hope that the campaigns and the elections would be conducted transparently. Ude described the Labour Party as the only visible opposition in the state and insisted that its executive remained duly recognized by both INEC and the party's national secretariat. He also referenced recent judicial pronouncements, including a Supreme court judgment and a federal high court ruling in Abuja earlier this year, which he said affirmed the party's current national leadership and directed INEC to reflect the changes. According to him, continued official communication between EBSEC and his office further confirms the recognition of the state executive. Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps has reaffirmed its mandate to manage crises through proactive disaster mitigation, rapid response, rescue, relief and rehabilitation services during national or man-made disasters. The clarification follows a viral video showing a confrontation between unlicensed oil and gas operators and personnel of the Corps in Ondo State. According to the command, the enforcement action was carried out in collaboration with the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, which is also responsible for regulating technical and commercial activities in the oil and gas sector. The Ondo State Command said the operation was part of efforts to enforce compliance with safety standards in the gas retail business. During the routine check, 2 individuals allegedly failed to produce the required license and safety clearance from NMDPRA, but resisted attempts to confiscate their gas cylinders and scale. The NSCDC Public Relations Officer in Ondo State, SC Daniel Aida Membo, stated that gas retailing is a regulated business and that operators must obtain proper licensing from the appropriate regulatory authority. He added that officers applied minimal force after resistance from the suspects, who allegedly attacked and injured the personnel while they were carrying out lawful duties. The Corps emphasized that assaulting officers or obstructing them from performing their duties is punishable under the law. The state commandant has ordered a full investigation into the incident and recalled the officers involved for the briefing while reiterating zero tolerance for unprofessional conduct. Obasani has reaffirmed his administration's commitment to expanding digital literacy, promoting innovation and ensuring equal learning opportunities for every child in Kaduna State. The governor made the pledge at the Class is Open Everywhere DigiTruck Digital Skills Training Program, represented by the Commissioner for Youth Development, Barrister Gloria Ibrahim. He stressed that no child would be discriminated against, whether in urban or rural communities. He described access to technology and digital skills as a necessity rather than a luxury, noting the students must not only be educated but also properly equipped for the future. The program features a fully equipped mobile digital classroom designed to move directly to secondary schools, bringing technology-driven learning closer to students and removing location barriers. According to the governor, the initiative will introduce students to basic computing, artificial intelligence, fundamentals, digital creativity, and other essential 21st century skills crucial for employability, innovation, and leadership. During its stay in Kaduna State, the DigiTruck is expected to reach between 20 and 30 schools across the state's 3 zones, impacting more than 1,000 students. Governor Sani expressed confidence that the exposure would inspire students to see themselves not only as users of technology, but as creators and problem solvers, urging them to take full advantage of the opportunity. Troops of 159 Military Battalion, Kanama, have intercepted suspected ISWAP terrorists attempting to steal roofing zinc from Ngama Primary School in Ngama Village, Yunsuri local government area of Yobe State. This was made known in a post on X by Zagazola Makama, a counterinsurgency and security expert in the Lake Chad region. According to the publication, the incident occurred on February 9 at about 9 p.m. when unknown gunmen armed with sophisticated weapons invaded the school. Makama further revealed that the terrorists mobilized some community youths to assist in removing the roofing zinc, disclosing that personnel of 159 Military Battalion were swiftly deployed to the scene. The publication added that while engaging the insurgents, a flying bullet injured one Omar Meigari, a 19-year-old of the village, who sustained a gunshot wound on his left leg. Security sources said the situation has been brought under control, with monitoring and intelligence operations ongoing to prevent further attacks in the area. Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has expressed confidence that the strategic road networks linking the Abuja Airport Expressway to Kuje and Gwagwalada will be completed on schedule. Speaking during a continuation of his project inspection tour, Wike said that the projects are at advanced stages and remain on course for inauguration by June 2026. He described the roads as strategically important, noting that the new link will connect the airport directly to satellite towns, significantly reducing travel time and improving access for residents. According to the minister, the airport to Kuje road has surpassed 70% completion, while the Kuje to Gwagwalada section is nearing 65% completion. Wike assured residents that the administration remains committed to delivering critical infrastructure projects within the stipulated timeline to ease transportation challenges in the FCT.
Well, quite impressed. You know that the airport to Kuje road is the one road that's very key for us. Then from Kuje to Gwagwalada, the last time I was there, you remember, we stopped at the mosque where they were constructing. And we were well impressed with the level of work done. And like the contractors have said, God willing, by first week of June or June, they would have inaugurated this project. It's a very important project so that you don't need to go to the true airport if you are going to go to town. So I think it's very important. We are very, very happy with what we have seen. Very happy. Well, if you take from airport to Kuje, it's about 70%. And here I can see it's almost 65%. So I think they will be top.
Independent National Electoral Commission and the National Peace Committee have strengthened their partnership to enhance election security and promote peaceful conduct ahead of the forthcoming Federal Capital Territory Area Council election. The renewed collaboration was affirmed at INEC's headquarters in Abuja during a visit by members of the National Peace Committee to the Commission's chairman, Joash Amupita, alongside national commissioners and senior officials. Amupita described the visit as timely, noting that INEC recently concluded engagements with security agencies, political parties, civil society organizations, and the media as part of preparations for the FCT poll. He stressed that 2026 serves as a critical preparatory year for the 2027 general election and called for proactive collaboration to manage emerging security risks. The INEC chairman commended the committee's Election Security Information Hub, which provides data-driven analysis of potential flashpoints in AMAC, Gwagwalada, Kuje, and Boari area councils. He assured that concerns over inter- and intra-party tensions, alleged threats among political actors, and risk of vote trading would be shared with relevant security agencies for preventive action. Speaking earlier, Reverend Father Arta Bakindo of the Kuka Center, representing the committee's leadership, reaffirmed its commitment to supporting peaceful elections in the FCT and upcoming governorship elections in Ekiti and Osun states. The committee said its monitoring system tracks election-related violence and electoral offenses to ensure evidence-based interventions and reduce conflict risks. Both INEC and the National Peace Committee expressed optimism that sustained collaboration would foster credible and peaceful elections in the FCT and beyond. Farmers and herders in 6 rural communities across Bokos and Riyom local government areas of Plateau State have signed 25 peace agreements aimed at restoring peace and trust after years of deadly conflict. The agreements were reached by men and women drawn from the communities of Shah, Bum, and Sop, where current clashes have claimed many lives and led to the destruction of property. The peace accords followed a series of dialogue and reconciliation engagements facilitated by the Institute for Integrated Transitions as part of efforts to strengthen social cohesion and find lasting solutions to violence in fragile conflict-affected rural communities. A participant and senior district head from Boko's local government area, Lazarus David, described the peace process as timely and critical, given the scale of challenges faced by the communities. He noted that the organizers sustained engagement with the communities, identified key issues, and worked closely with stakeholders to address them collectively. Another participant, Chiroma Haruna Idris, said the initiative would significantly contribute to restoring peace and stability between farming and herding communities. He noted that the provided an opportunity to better understand shared challenges and to address them peacefully without further disruption. It is ordered that the signed agreements would help resolve lingering issues between the groups and promote long-term coexistence. President Bola Tinubu has nominated Ambassador Ismail Abba Yusuf as the new chairman and chief executive officer of the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria. The nomination was disclosed in a statement by the president's special advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Onanuga, who said the president had written to Senate President Godswill Akpabio seeking expeditious confirmation of Yusuf. Yusuf is expected to replace Professor Abdullahi Usman, who resigned earlier this week after about 14 months in office. His appointment is subject to Senate confirmation in line with the NACON Act. A career diplomat, Yusuf served as Nigeria's ambassador to Turkey between 2021 and 2024. Usman, in a statement announcing his resignation, said the decision was no reasons and not dissatisfaction with the Commission or the government. However, his exit follows a petition by 11 NACON board members alleging financial misconduct and violations of procurement procedures, claims he has denied. NACON is responsible for regulating and coordinating Hajj and Umrah operations in Nigeria, including pilgrim welfare and licensing of tour operators. Senate on Wednesday expressed fresh concern over the rising wave of terrorist attacks across the country. As the chairman of the Senate Committee on Defense, Senator Ahmad Lawan described the security situation as worrisome. Lawan spoke during the 2026 Budget Defense and 2025 Budget Performance Review of the Ministry of Defense before the committee. In his opening remarks, the former Senate President said the exercise was taking place at a troubling time for Nigerians amid persistent insecurity across several parts of the country.
Our reality in the last 50 years has been that of battling terrorists and insurgents that have succeeded in carrying out kidnappings, mass abductions of communities and students, massacres, arson, and so on and so forth.
Reacting, the Minister of Defense, Major General Christopher Musa, retired, acknowledged the security challenges but assured the Senate that military operations were ongoing and yielding positive results. He maintained that the armed forces remain committed to protecting the nation's territorial integrity and restoring peace nationwide. The committee later went into a closed-door session to deliberate on sensitive operational matters, projects and budgetary figures presented by the ministry. House of Representatives Committee on Agricultural Colleges and Institutions has directed all institutions under its oversight to submit evidence of their internally generated revenue within 24 hours. The resolution was reached a budget defense session with the relevant agencies following a motion raised by the committee. Chairman of the committee, Honorable Abiodun Akinlade, warned that the 2026 budget defense of any institution that fails to comply would be suspended. Akinlade emphasized that budget defense should not be treated as a routine annual exercise, but as a critical process with direct implications for the welfare of Nigerians. He explained that agencies appearing before the committee are expected to justify their budget proposals by providing details on the implementation of the budget, of the 2025 budget, as well as the projections and priorities contained in their 2026 estimates. The committee also expressed concern over the non-release of capital funds to the agencies in 2025, saying that the capital released to these agencies was zero throughout 2025, and this has significantly affected their performance. He appealed to the executive to ensure that capital funds are adequately released to enable these institutions to function effectively.
The agencies, can will this committee give you 24 hours to present your IGR to this committee? In the next 24 hours, kindly extract your IGR for 2025 and present to this committee in the next 24 hours. The committee frown at the unrelease of the capital to all the agencies under our purview. The capital release was zero throughout the year 2025, and this has really affected the performance of all the agencies. We want to appeal to the executive to ensure that the capital are released adequately for the agencies to be able to carry out their assignment. Thank you.
Chairperson of the House of Representatives Committee on Women Affairs, Kafilet Ogbare, has urged the Ministry of Women Affairs to ensure that its 2026 budget proposal addresses the multifaceted challenges facing women across the country. She made the call during the ministry's budget defense session with the Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development, Iman Suleiman Ibrahim, at the National Assembly in Abuja. Ogbara said the committee will engage in thorough deliberations to ensure that financial allocations effectively support women's empowerment and advance gender equality. She noted that the ministry's initiatives ranging from tackling gender-based violence to economic empowerment, healthcare and education are critical to building an inclusive environment where women can thrive. The lawmaker emphasized that the budget defense provides an opportunity to review past performance, assess ongoing programs, and consider new strategies to improve the welfare of women, especially those in rural areas, women with disabilities, and survivors of violence. In her remarks, the minister said the ministry requires increased funding to meet its obligations. She stated that despite limited capital releases in 2025, funds were prudently managed, particularly in personnel and overhead expenditures. Suleiman Ibrahim added that the proposed 2026 budget seeks to close funding gaps, strengthen program delivery for women, children and vulnerable groups, and reinforce the administration's family-focused agenda.
The ministry's initiatives are essential for fostering an inclusive environment where women can thrive. This budget performance and defense is not just a procedural obligation. It is an opportunity for us to scrutinize and understand how resources will be allocated to meet the pressing needs that the ministry has. The 2025 performance budget proposal presents us with a chance to evaluate the past performances, assess ongoing programs, and explore new initiatives that can further enhance the welfare of women in our nation.
And from the capital is 89 billion has not been released so far from our capital budget of 2025, which represents 99.56% of our capital budget, because only 0.44% was released so far, but we're still expecting 30%. The 2025 budget performance reflects prudent management of release funds, particularly in personnel and overhead and in intervention expenditures, despite limited capital releases in 2025. The proposed 2026 budget seeks to address these gaps and strengthen the ministry's capacity to deliver impactful programs for our women, our children, and the vulnerable population, and also to strengthen the family agenda of Mr. President.
Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sunday Aneke, has condemned alleged plans by some individuals to violently overthrow Nigeria's democratic government, warning that anyone involved will face the full wrath of the law. Speaking in Abuja during a meeting with senior commanders to mark his first 100 days in office, Aneke reaffirmed the loyalty of the Nigerian Air Force to the Constitution and the democratically elected government. He linked Nigeria's security challenges to instability in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, warning that extremist violence in the Sahel is spreading towards coastal states, including Nigeria and the Republic of Benin. The air chief also noted modest security improvements nationwide, but said insurgency, banditry, kidnapping, and farmer-headed conflicts remain major threats. He urged personnel to remain professional and politically neutral ahead of the 2027 general elections. Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare and the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Women's Health have commenced plans to coordinate interventions aimed at addressing challenges affecting Nigerian women. The Senior Special Assistant to the President on Women's Health, Dr. Adana Steinaka, disclosed this during a meeting with a coalition of women leaders, representatives of women's groups and NGOs in Abuja. The meeting, convened by the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare and facilitated by OSAP WH, focused on developing a nationwide strategy to prioritize women's health in national development. Steinaka said her office was adopting a broad-based approach to ensure that women's health issues receive adequate attention at the national level. She noted that OSWAP WH was launched by President Bola Tinubu on September 11, 2025, alongside its mandate, Renew Her. According to her, Renew Her operates under three major pillars. The first is a digital media and advocacy hub aimed at bridging knowledge gaps and improving health literacy among women and girls through accurate evidence-based information. The second pillar focuses geopolitically anchored campaigns implemented in partnership with the Ministry of Health to identify and address region-specific health priorities. The third pillar involves organizing coalitions, symposia, and summits to foster collaboration and build networks that advance women's health initiatives across the country. Nigeria Correctional Service has revealed that awaiting trial inmates account for 64% of the total custodial population across the country. Controller General of the Service, Sylvester Nwakuchi, disclosed this during the agency's 2025 Budget Performance Review and 2026 Estimates presentation before the House Committee on Reformatory Institutions in Abuja. According to him, as of February 9, 2026, Nigeria's total inmates population stood at 80,812. Out of this figure, 51,955 are awaiting trial. 24,913 are convicted inmates, while 3,850 fall under other detention categories. Nwakuchi said the service received 184.63 billion naira in 2025, with most funds allocated to personnel and overhead costs. However, capital funding recorded low implementation, with only 22% of allocated funds released. He noted that the service is seeking 98.85 billion naira for the 2026 fiscal year, including additional funding to address infrastructure deficits, inmate feeding, non-custodial measures, and outstanding liabilities. Earlier, Chairman of the House Committee on Reformatory Institutions, Chinedu Oga, called for urgent reforms, improving funding and presidential assent to the Correctional Service Trust Fund Bill to strengthen the system and ease congestion. Lawmakers say without increased funding and structural reforms, overcrowding and operational strain in Nigeria's correctional facilities may persist, posing broader national security concerns.
The 2026 budget proposal of 198 billion 846 million 197,163 naira for your kind consideration and approval. 2, I most respectfully make an appeal for the approval of an extra 90 billion 379 million 456,350 to be added to the capital budget, thereby increasing the capital allocation to 100 billion 498,187 498 million
187,835 in order to relatively address critical infrastructure and capacity building needs of the service.
We went round. Each members of the committee contribute money in paying for release of inmates in various custodial centers, in Meduguri, in Bayelsa, in Port Harcourt, in Aba, in Lagos, so many places we visited. And we go further to even buy some equipment for those that have finished their jail terms. That is to tell you how our committee are very committed. We have seen your requests. We are going to work with the appropriation. Thank God the chairman of subcommittee is here. We are going to work with the appropriation and the leadership.
Human rights lawyer Ejime Okoli has filed a suit against the Independent National Electoral Commission and 19 political parties over what he described as outrageous expression of interest and nomination fees ahead of the 2027 general elections. Okoli, suing on behalf of himself and other Nigerians interested in participating in the electoral process, is asking Justice Binta Nyako of the Federal High Court in Abuja to compel INEC to issue binding guidelines regulating reasonable maximum thresholds for such fees. He is also seeking an order restraining the parties from fixing or enforcing expression of interest and nominating fees that could exclude qualified Nigerians from contesting party primaries. The suit requested that any relief granted should apply prospectively to safeguard constitutional rights ahead of the 2027 elections. Okoli argued that the high fees imposed before the 2023 general elections prevented many eligible Nigerians, including himself, from participating in party primaries, thereby violating rights guaranteed under Sections 40 and 42 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. Among the parties listed as respondents are the All Progressives Congress, People's Democratic Party, and the African Democratic Congress. INEC and the Attorney General of the Federation were also joined in the suit. Justice Nyako has fixed February 12 for hearing. Civic organization Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center has urged the Nigerian government to block all leakages that enable corruption across public institutions. The executive director of CISLAC, Awal Rasfajani, made the call by reacting to Nigeria's ranking in the 2025 Corruption Perception Index released by Transparency International. Nigeria was ranked 142 out of 182 countries in the 2025 index. Rafsanjani referenced reports by the Auditor General alleging instances of corruption within the National Assembly and concerns raised about integrity issues in the judiciary, which he said have further weakened public trust. He warned that the Corruption Perception Index would not improve if ongoing corruption cases are not addressed decisively. According to him, the latest CPR report should serve as a wake-up call for authorities to identify systemic gaps and strengthen accountability mechanisms to curb corruption nationwide. We'll go on a short break now, and when we return, we will continue with the rest of the stories. Please stay with us. welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now, stories. House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee investigating power sector reforms and expenditure between 2006 and 2024 has constituted a 7-man subcommittee to conduct a forensic audit of the usage of gas supplied to electricity generation companies across the country. The decision followed the adoption of a motion moved by Honorable Harrison Wadike questioning the national rationale behind the continued supply of gas to the moribund Sapele power plant over the past 1 year. Wadike said the committee made the discovery during its recent oversight visit to the plant in Sapele, Delta State, noting that despite receiving gas supplies, the facility has not generated electricity. Earlier, Chairman of the Ad Hoc Committee, Representative Al-Mustafa Aliyu, said there are widespread concerns among Nigerians that Seplat Energy Company was not supplying adequate gas to Gencos as required, thereby strangulating power plants and short-changing the country. Responding to the allegations, the managing director of Seplat Energy, Mrs. Ibiada Itoto, dismissed the claims, insisting that the company has remained committed to supporting the federal government's power sector reform agenda. Despite this, Wadike, who moved the motion for the forensic audit, alleged that Seplat may have committed an economic crime by allegedly being an accomplice to a power plant that has diverted gas supplied for electricity generation over the past 1 year. Chairman of the ad hoc of the committee, I beg your pardon, Representative Aliyu expressed shock, disappointment and surprise that a company of Seplat stature allegedly lacks the internal structure to detect foul play in the utilization of gas supplied to power plants. Meanwhile, the committee has constituted a 7-man subcommittee to carry out the forensic audits.
Sort of shed more light on the process of gas supply. And we are all aware of the basic principles of invoicing. And invoicing and reconciliation means that both the off-taker and the supplier are agreeing that this is the volume that was taken. So from the point of view of Seplat, we do have that documentation, those reconciliation records from the off-taker saying they've taken the volume. It is not a contractual obligation to visit the plant or the supplier. It's a good thing to do, which, as Mr. Fashion said, he has tried to do at least recently and was unable to gain access. However, as far as the paperwork is concerned, the off-taker has been agreeing that they have been taking this gas, and that remains the position of Seplat.
I do hereby move a motion that a proper forensic audit on utilization of gas purportedly supplied from Seplat through NGIAC to Sapele Power Holding between January of 2022 to December 2024 been looked into by a subcommittee. I so move.
Seplat, our initial conviction about the company is that you are a very strong partner, a partner that you all want to rely on in the energy sector, before, now, and maybe going forward. Second, it will go a long way for you to earn the confidence of not only the National Assembly but Nigerians, that for you, you have done your due diligence. Our major challenge may be not on your part. You know, the investigation, I'm not preempting what will come out. We want to find out. So it is very important. In fact, it's very necessary that the MD should lead the team. You lead the team to engage with the honorable members here, 7 of them, that will do justice to this issue.
Dangote Petroleum Refinery has reduced the gantry price of premium motor spirit by 25 naira per litre, bringing the ex-depot rate down from 799 to 774 per litre. The reduction was announced in a notice issued by the group Commercial Operations Department of Dangote Petroleum Refinery and Petrochemicals FZE to marketers, stating that the change takes immediate effect. The refinery also informed marketers that its PMS lifting incentive has ended, noting that the adjustment is expected to strengthen the competitiveness of locally refined petroleum products. The latest reduction reflects ongoing adjustments in the price of the essential commodity, largely influenced by exchange rates, fluctuations, and global crude oil prices. Over the past year, the ex-depot price of PMS has ranged between 700 naira and 800 naira per litre, directly impacting pump prices nationwide. The 650,000 barrel per day refinery, Africa's largest, began delivering petrol in 2024, earlier in January 2024. The facility commenced production of diesel and aviation fuel. The refinery was built by Nigerian billionaire Aliko Dangote. Nigeria had for years swapped crude oil worth billions of dollars for imported petrol, maintaining domestic prices through subsidies. However, fuel import and subsidy payments significantly strained foreign exchange reserves amid declining oil revenues and currency shortages. Federal government has directed the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control to suspend all enforcement actions concerning the proposed ban on sachet alcohol and 200 meter PET bottle alcohol products. The government also instructed the agency to immediately stop sealing factories and warehouses over the issue. The directive was conveyed in a statement issued in Abuja by Terence Kwanum, Special Advisor on Public Affairs to the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. According to the statement, the decision followed a joint intervention by the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation and the Office of the National Security Advisor, which raised concerns about security implications linked to continued enforcement without a fully implemented national alcohol policy. Nigeria recorded capital importation of approximately $21 billion in the first 10 months of 2025, representing a 7% increase from the $12 billion in the first 10 months of 2025, representing a 7.5% increase from the $12 billion recorded in 2024 and a more than 425% rise from under $4 billion in 2023. The disclosure was made by the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Jumoke Oduwole, during the ministry's budget defense before the House Committee on Commerce. She stated that the ministry conducted over 100 bilateral investment engagements locally and internationally, strengthening partnerships with countries such as the United Arab Emirates, Brazil and Japan, alongside long-standing partners including the United States and the United Kingdom. According to the minister, UK investors accounted for approximately 65% of Nigeria's foreign capital inflows in 2025, making the country the leading source of investment. On trade performance, she revealed that Nigeria recorded a trade surplus in 2025, with total trade valued at about 113 trillion naira in the quarters of the year. Exports rose by roughly 11% year-on-year to $6.1 billion, the highest ever recorded in both value and volume. Capital importation into Nigeria comprises foreign direct investment, portfolio investment, and other forms of investment. You're still watching the news on Atlantic Television Network, and up next is International Tidbits. United States lawmakers have introduced a new bill seeking to confront religious persecution in Nigeria and hold the government accountable for protecting vulnerable communities, particularly Christians. The proposed legislation, titled the Nigeria Religious Freedom and Accountability Act of 2026, was sponsored by Riley Moore and Chris Smith, alongside several other senior members of Congress. The bill mandates the U.S. Secretary of State to submit a detailed report to Congress on efforts to address religious violence and and mass atrocities in Nigeria, including compliance with international religious freedom standards, treatment of internally displaced persons, enforcement of blasphemy laws, security assistance, and steps taken to prosecute perpetrators and dismantle extremist networks. Moore said he visited Nigeria as part of an investigation requested by U.S. President Donald Trump, during which he met senior Nigerian officials and toured areas affected by terrorist attacks. He described the legislation as a signal that the United States stands with persecuted Christians and is ready to support Nigeria in tackling security challenges. Smith, who has chaired multiple congressional hearings on religious persecution in Nigeria, argued that denial by Nigerian authorities has allowed violence to escalate. He stressed that following Nigeria's redesignation as a country of particular concern in 2025, November, Washington has a responsibility to ensure accountability and decisive action. Other lawmakers backing the bill described the measures as both a moral obligation and a strategic interest. If passed, the legislation would increase congressional oversight and diplomatic pressure on Nigeria to take concrete steps to curb religious violence and protect affected communities. A shooter killed 9 people and injured 27 others at a secondary school and a nearby residence in Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia on Tuesday before taking their own life. Authorities confirmed. The attack occurred in the remote mountain community of Tumbler Ridge, located in western Canada. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police said 6 victims were found dead inside Tumbler Ridge Secondary School, while a 7th person with a gunshot wound died while being transported to hospital. Police later discovered 2 additional bodies at the residence believed to be connected to the incident. An individual believed to be the shooter was found deceased at the school with what appeared to be a self-inflicted injury. Authorities have not released details about the suspect's identity or age. British Columbia Premier David Eby called the violence unimaginable, while the municipality of Tumbler Ridge expressed deep sorrow over the loss of life and the impact on families, students, staff, and the wider community. Police said investigations are ongoing, with officers searching additional properties in the town to determine whether there are other locations connected to the attack. Mass shootings are rare in Canada, and authorities continue to gather information about the circumstances surrounding the incident. Beijing says it has lodged solemn representations with countries that criticized a 20-year prison sentence handed to Hong Kong pro-democracy figure Jimmy Lai. Nations including the United States, United Kingdom and Australia condemned the ruling, with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio describing the sentence as unjust and tragic. The European Union also expressed regret over the decision and called for Lai's release. Responding to the criticism, China's foreign ministry accused certain countries and institutions of using the judicial case to smear Hong Kong. Spokesman Ling Jiang said China quite firmly opposes such actions and has formally protested to the relevant governments and organizations. Lai, 78, a British citizen and founder of the now defunct Apple Daily newspaper, was convicted of collusion with foreign forces and publishing seditious articles. The sentence is the harshest so far under Hong Kong's national security law, introduced by Beijing in 2020 following such large-scale pro-democracy protests. Chinese authorities maintain that the ruling was based on facts and law and urged foreign governments to cease what they described as interference in Hong Kong's affairs and China's internal matters. And now to our sports news. Tottenham Hotspur have sacked manager Thomas Frank following Tuesday night's 2-1 home defeat to Newcastle United. Frank, who joined Spurs in June 2025 after a successful spell at Brentford, leaves the club with Tottenham sitting 16th in the Premier League table. The North London side are 5 points above the relegation zone after a poor run of results. The Dane holds the unwanted record of the lowest Premier League home win percentage of any Tottenham manager since 2008. The team failed to record a single league victory in their 8 matches played in 2026, a run that ultimately sealed his fate. The 2-1 loss to Newcastle at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium proved decisive, with the club's board concluding that a managerial change was necessary amid declining performances and results. Frank's appointment had initially generated optimism due to his achievements at Brentford, where he consistently exceeded expectations with limited resources. However, the transition to managing one of England's biggest clubs brought increased pressure and scrutiny, with the squad struggling for consistency, creativity and defensive stability. Confirming the decision in a statement, the club announced that it had made a change in the men's head coach position and that Thomas Frank would leave immediately. The statement noted that while the club had provided time and support to build for the future, results and performances led the board to determine that a change was required at this stage of the season. Tottenham thanked Frank for his commitment and contribution, wishing him success in his future endeavors. Super Eagles head coach Eric Chell has been linked with the vacant coaching position at Olympique de Marseille. Marseille are searching for a new manager following the departure of Roberto De Zerbi by mutual consent on Tuesday. According to journalist Lassana Camara, Chell is among the names being considered for the role. Another African coach on the shortlist is Habib Beye, who was recently sacked by Stade Rennais FC. Chell boosted his profile after leading Nigeria to a third-place finish at the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations, further enhancing his reputation on the continental stage. The 48-year-old tactician remains under contract with Nigeria until January 2027. Serie A giants AC Milan will pocket €24 million if Fulham activates their option to sign Samuel Chukwueze. Chukwueze moved to the Craven Cottage on loan last summer. Fulham has the option to make the move permanent at the end of the season. The Nigerian international has made a big impact since his arrival in West London. The 26-year-old has recorded 3 goals and 4 assists in 12 appearances for the Premier League club. Marco Silva's side are yet to make a decision on his future, but it is expected that Chukwueze will be offered permanent deal. Filmmaker Kunle Afolayan has urged critics and viewers to be patient with his new Netflix series Anikulapo. The Girl Awakens, stating that his films are created for intellectual audiences. In a video shared on Instagram, Afolayan said he does not expect everyone to understand or appreciate his work, explained that his focus is on viewers who value deeper storytelling and layered narratives. He noted that he has received encouraging feedback from scholars, professors and other critical thinkers, adding that such audiences understand the themes and structure of the series. The filmmaker also criticized reviewers who judge the series without watching all the episodes, arguing that it is unfair to draw conclusions before the full storyline unfolds. He compared the viewing experience to long-form international series where audiences wait for episodes before forming opinions. Afolayan recalled similar criticisms that greeted his earlier films, including Irapada and The Figurine, which later gained awards and international recognition. He encouraged fellow filmmakers to remain focused despite negative reviews, reiterating that his priority is creative control and long-term artistic value rather than box office competition. And that's the global news for tonight. Before we go, another look at the suspected RED explosion hits Bayelsa Secretariat complex. Air Chief once again plot to subvert democracy. Tinubu nominates Ambassador Yusuf as a NACON chairman. Nigeria's capital importation hits $21 billion in 2025. U.S. lawmakers introduce bill on religious freedom in Nigeria. Tottenham sacked Thomas Frank after Newcastle defeat. Kunle Afolayan urges patience over Anikulapo criticism. I am Francis Neko. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, now X, at Atlantic TV Net, Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, on Instagram at Atlantic TV Network. Watch us live on our website, www.atlanticnetwork.tv. Peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Thank you for watching.